Life and Debt: A Struggle Overcoming Government Debt. Life and Debt is directed by Stephanie Black, and it is a documentary going through the process of repaying debt created by the government by a struggling country trying to create an identity. This country is Jamaica. This picture represents the poverty in Jamaica, and it also shows it. The film Life and Debt is formed as a documentary as well as having a little bit of a feel of a movie with conversations by the people taking place. The people in the movie that are talking are Jamaicans that have lived through the dealings of the IMF. And the IMF is a international monetary fund which is helping to supplant the debt created by Jamaica through a loan that the government is repaying through the work of the people through exports in the global economy and through trade. The negatives taking place by the exports is that the exports are going for much cheaper than the people would have sold them in their markets, and that it has taken away their food sources that they relied on as well as money. The Jamaican government took on the IMF fund because the country was in a bad state and needed help to be able to grow and be self-sufficient. And the reason they had to turn to this was because they were not profiting and growing as well as the government would have liked. And the government needed a way to be able to trade and be part of this new global trade agreement to maximize the global economy. Globalization was described as a selling point to make the world as a whole. The IMF was brought about to help the short-term currency issues of the world to stabilize the global economy. The IMF wanted to stabilize the country as they were in a large state of debt following the transition of being ruled by England, by a queen, and the struggle of repaying the debt that they owed was the main reason why the government took this on. The problem with the International Monetary Fund was that whenever is that they had to deal with free trade, and that meant global competition. So by competing in that market, you had to have cheaper goods than your competitors and have more. And that's what took away from the people and what kind of helped contribute to the current poverty issues in Jamaica, because these people aren't able to sustain a livable life like they once were, because before they were living in a state where they were able to go to markets within their country and sell their goods to each other, and it made people money, and they were able to eat. And now they're having to buy imports from other countries for more money, and it's just not helping them. This film made me whether it was fair to put this policy and act on the country of Jamaica, as the government, I don't know if they were really looking out for the people of Jamaica. I think they were really looking out for themselves and trying to cover up this debt, and they probably could have done this another way. They probably could have not signed this agreement and have done exports at a lower cost, as well as still maintaining their own goods and taking on some imports to balance out. I think it was wrong that they did this. It only contributed to the poverty of the country because the people could no longer benefit from what they grew or made, and as well as taking away their food sources, and they were having to spend more money to be able to feed their families. And the inequalities of the process of visitors coming to visit the country for vacation versus the process of how hard it is for Jamaicans to visit another country is kind of ridiculous, because Jamaicans have to go through a long application process to prove why they should go to another country, as well as the tourism income that Jamaica creates for itself. Another way they could have avoided the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, was if they had focused more on tourism and making money off of that instead of relying on a loan where they could be penalized in the loan and forced to pay out a longer term or money added onto it because they were not meeting expectations. Not only was it a difficult decision, but it did not better the lives of the people of Jamaica. The poverty did not improve with extra money being made by the government. Instead of trying to make the lives of people easier, they made it harder by taking away income, increased the cost of goods, and made it much harder for the natives to live a sustainable life.